Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This year I read 87 books and I have chosen my top 10 favorite ones to share them with you. I made this list based on the literary quality of the books, but also on the level of enjoyment I felt while reading them. Book number 10 is The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. This is the second book in her Vampire Chronicles series. I like this much more than Interview with a Vampire because this is more character driven than the first one. This is Lestat's origin story and he's so much fun to follow. He's an absolutely outrageous, impulsive and unpredictable character, and I really love these personality traits. I really love Byronic heroes and villains. Lestat became one of my favorite characters because although he is an anti-hero, he is also very vulnerable, and the one thing he always longs for is companionship. He also wants to be an actor and he's very passionate about art. The other thing that I really like about this book was the dark academia aspect. Lestat goes on a journey to discover the origins of the vampires, and this quest leads him to the ancient world. Definitely read the trigger warnings if you are curious to read Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. Most of her characters are very problematic. That's part of the way she portrays the effects of immortality in her characters. The next book is Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. I do not own a physical copy of this one because I read it on my Kindle, but I'm planning to get one because I really liked this story. It's more of a novella or a short story or a long short story. It's also about vampires. I swear this is a coincidence. I often do not read vampire stories or novels. I like them, but it's just not my thing. This story has very strong queer elements, which I loved, considering that this was written in the Victorian era. And I think it's very interesting how vampires were used as an outlet to represent people's sexuality in fiction. The next book is If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. I know this book was very popular, but I had to put it on my list because I really enjoyed it. This novel has everything I liked about dark academia. Murder, complicity, a group of friends doing mischief, an atmospheric setting, and the best of it, lots and lots of Shakespeare. I know some people did not like the fact that the characters keep quoting Shakespeare, but that was one of the things that I liked the most about this book. The next book is It Will Be Night in Caracas by Karina Sáenz Borgo. The author is Venezuelan and the story is about the 2014 crisis of my country. My uncle gave me this book as a Christmas present, and he told me, if people ask you why did many of us Venezuelans leave our country, you need to tell them to read this book. Although this is a work of fiction, I assure you that everything that happens in this book is 100% real. Every Venezuelan has either experienced most of these conflicts or knows someone who has experienced them. I'm telling you this because from the point of view of a non-Venezuelan, the plot of the novel can seem very dystopic. The translation is also great because it allows the cultural elements to shine through. The novel also has very beautiful magic realism elements that enhances the storytelling. The next novel was also very popular, and this is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I know some people were a bit disappointed because they wanted to see more Mexicanness. I too wanted to see more Mexicanness, but I still think the author made a good job at using the setting she chose to convey the themes of the novel. And she makes a very relevant commentary against colonization. Also, as a Gothic novel, it's very atmospheric. It has a very dreaming quality. The cultural aspects were amazing and the conflict was very original. The next book is My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. My only complaint about this novel is, why isn't it more popular? This is one of the greatest Gothic novels I have read, and I have read a lot. My favorite element of this novel is how the author played with the power dynamics of the characters. Dumouriez shows us how a man can use favors and money to possess a woman, but also how a woman, although destitute, can use her charms and her intelligence to take advantage of a man. The ultimate feminist message of this story is that women are not as helpless as men think we are, or as we think we are. If you like gothic fiction, you need to read this. The next novel is The Magic Toy Shop by Angela Carter. This was the first book I read in 2022. I rarely read novels in one sitting, but this one I couldn't put it down until I finished it. To me, it has the best of both worlds. It has gothic elements, but it also has magic realism. To me, this story was about loss and toxic masculinity. Angela Carter shows us the unusual relationships people can forge while living in a hostile family environment. And the next book is Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. I do not own a copy of this book, but I'm planning to get one because I want to reread it many times. I realized this is the only romance novel in the list. This story became my favorite romance novel. It is a historical novel and it takes place in the early Victorian era, I think. I love the characters, their chemistry, and also how their relationship evolves. The female lead is very sweet and shy but has very strong convictions, and the male lead is absolutely wicked and sassy. It seems as though he came out of an Oscar Wilde story. When the story begins, he's very problematic, but we see him grow and his redemption arc is amazing. The historical elements of this novel were also very accurate and I really like that. The next book is also a very popular one and it's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I love this novel so much that I have to get the Gulf Lynch and I'm planning to read it one of these days. To me, this is the perfect dark academia book. The reason why I liked it so much was because it left me with a very unnerving feeling that lasted days. I think this is a great piece of postmodern, contemporary, realistic fiction, and it's going to become one of those classics that people will be reading in 30 or 40 years. So my ultimate favorite book was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This novel also left me with a very unsettling feeling, and I couldn't stop reading du Maurier's books since then. I have read, I think, 3 more novels from her. Many people call this a gothic romance and compare it to Jane Eyre, but I really don't see the similarities between both of them. I actually think this is more interesting, but the romance elements are weaker here because the romance is not at the center of the story. My favorite thing about this novel was the way du Maurier represents the Gothic and how here the characters are not haunted by a ghost. They are haunted by their past, their guilt, and the shadow of a person who's no longer there. So those were my favorite 10 books of 2022. If you have read any of these books, let me know which one do you like the most. And also let me know what was your favorite book of 2022. Take care, bye!